Kia ora koutou, welcome to 3 Minute Board Games. It is Stephanie here for a very special episode that is not going to be 3 minutes long, because today I am bringing you my thoughts on Obsession 2nd Edition and the Upstairs Downstairs expansion. She's such a chonky girl, I love her. It's no secret Obsession 1st Edition is one of my favourite games. It was top of the Tefi 25 last year and, spoiler alert, probably top of the Tefi 25 this year. The most significant, to me, change between 1st Edition and 2nd Edition is right here on the back of this thick boy. It's the 3 Minute Board Games gold medal logo on a real game, on a real box. Which wasn't intimidating at all. In fact, when Dan Halligan asked if he could have the files to put the gold medal on the game, I spent an evening redesigning it because the original image was kind of janky and only fit for online purposes, and yeah, I needed it to be perfect. It's probably not, but it's nice and small. But it is there, so it's still great. 2nd Edition and Upstairs Downstairs did obviously go to Kickstarter, but they are now available retail, so if you did not get in on the Kickstarter, get in on it now! Now, Dan also has a large number of highly informative videos on his own YouTube channel about setting up a game of Obsession both with and without the expansions, and also how to integrate Upstairs Downstairs into the core game. So I'm not going to repeat any of that information. If you want to learn how to set up a game of Obsession, or if you want to figure out how to get all of those pieces from Upstairs Downstairs into the box, which is thicker. Let's see, balancing act. Can I get, oh, bumped the table. There we go. Comparison. Supersized game. Love it. Woo. If you were trying to figure out, don't knock the table, Stephanie. Knocked the table. How to get all of those upstairs downstairs pieces into the big box, then go check out Dan's video, because I cannot do it as perfectly as him for the somewhat obvious reason of not having designed the game. Instead, I am going to finally open these shrink-wrapped copies of the game and all the expansions, which may or may not have sat in our games room for some weeks, because I may or may not have been, again, thoroughly intimidated by the question of how to do this justice in a video, and may have procrastinated just a little bit. But today is the day. We tear off the shrink wrap and we see what's inside. We do not eat the silica gel desiccant because it says do not eat, and I always do what I'm told. And I will give you some of my random thoughts as we go through. I should note that I have already played 2nd Edition and Upstairs Downstairs. We know a couple who have very similar senses of humour to us, and we often do double date board game nights. It's quite cute, really. And we have played at their place because they did the Kickstarter, and actually theirs got delivered before us, which... not impressed, let's be honest. What this means is I already have a good real-world sense of how some of the changes actually work in play, which is good because unlike some other ridiculously talented board game videographers, I can't just read a rule book and tell you what impact rule changes are going to have in the real world. I am only mortal. First out of the box, and no surprise to experienced gamers, is the rulebook, which contains Jay's single favourite thing in the entirety of gaming, the victory points distribution pie chart, which I have to agree is pretty useful. One really irritating thing, often in games where there are multiple paths to victory, is when you don't know, at least the first time you play, how much value there actually is in pursuing, say, objectives over tech points, over pure victory points, over hoarding gold. My single favourite thing about 2nd Edition, that's probably a lie, I have plenty of favourite things, but one of my favourite things is the storage boxes. So we not only have these square purple boxes for all of your components, just to make sure they're packed away neatly and stack at a nice level, but you also have these boxes for the individual families, where you can put all of your starting cards, your starting bonuses, so you're not scrabbling around going, wait, who gets £300? Who gets to start with the cook? More on the cook later. These are just... no box inset has ever made me as happy as these boxes make me. Our wonderful little turn board is back, and there has been some change to the extended play version where the holidays right at the end have been rejigged. The national holiday, which is when you can invite guests of any prestige ranking to an event and they have to say yes because it's a public holiday, what else are they doing? is now a lot earlier, because it can be a real bummer if you get it in kind of that second or third to last round and you just don't have the people or the events ready because you've already been burning all your resources. I really like it when new editions of things just make little quality of life improvements, and one that is really great is the family board. Previously, and these are still in the second edition because you can choose which one you like, you had your family board and you had to have this little extra tile to slot underneath it to create your tableau of improvements. This is still really useful because it gives you the name, so you don't have to remember like which colour is essentials, which colour is sport. But now you can play with the other side of the family board that just has the colours built in. I don't know why this pleases me so much, but it just feels very elegant. Changes have now been made to the Builder's Market. Probably need to fold that in half so you can see the actual relevant side. Now, once you get to the end of Season 1, when you are restocking the Builder's Market, all service tiles go into this £300 square, which means they're not clogging up the Builder's Market when you're trying to get the more high value improvements out. After Season 2, you do the same thing with all Prestige 1 tiles, once again meaning that you're actually managing to cycle through at a point when people may not want to be picking up service tiles or Prestige 1 because you're trying to save your money for those awesome monuments. One rule change I love is the difference in objective cards in 2nd edition. Instead of getting 2 at the beginning of the game and then slowly accruing more at different turns, you start with 5 and you discard down. There are also other ways of getting more objective cards, but what it means fundamentally is that you're not stuck hoping you get a good objective card late in the game, when maybe you pick one that's perfect, you've already got 2 of the 3 improvements you need to complete it. Or it's completely broken because someone's already got 2 of the 3 properties you need, or there's never enough time to hire enough servants to get all of the victory points. Starting big means you can quickly rule out which ones are probably not going to work, but you still have them in your back pocket if you need them, and you can adapt your strategy more organically, I guess. And rounding things out, we have our purple obsession bag. If you are from New Zealand, and I think the broader Commonwealth, you strongly associate this particular shade of purple with Cadbury chocolate, which just makes the game seem more decadent, even though Cadbury's not that good these days. We also have a purple D20 because this is a real board game. I joke. And finally, a plastic bag full of plastic bags full of servants. Make your own inappropriate joke here. Now let's not forget in our rush to get to Upstairs Downstairs that we do also have the Wessex expansion, which provided the 5th family and also rules for solo play. But I think it's only fair I leave that one to Jay. And we have the 18 promotional tiles from the Kickstarter. 20 were actually developed by backers, 2 were picked for incorporation into the game. That was the Parish Church and the Babbling Brook, which seemed very suitable. And these are the rest, and they're super fun and completely unbalanced because they haven't been properly playtested. I'm sorry, Dan, I'm just going to throw them all in and see what happens. But this is what we're really here for, the Upstairs Downstairs expansion. And before I crack the seal on this beauty, I just need to check that y'all know why it's called Upstairs Downstairs. Because if you don't, you are missing out on a great cultural touchstone, the TV show Upstairs Downstairs. The closest thing you may know to it is Downton Abbey. It's that kind of English manor house. There's the nobility, and then there's the people doing the actual work supporting their lifestyle, the upstairs and the downstairs. Now, Downton Abbey was not based on Upstairs Downstairs because Downton Abbey was based on Gosford Park, which was based on Upstairs Downstairs, and you can tell because one of the main actresses from Upstairs Downstairs is in Gosford Park, and now we need to talk about Gosford Park. Kids, this is called a DVD case. Ask your parents. Gosford Park is a perfect film. It is one of my favourite in the universe. It requires frequent rewatching because there's definitely details you have forgotten. It has the most ridiculous cast of A-list British actors playing the nobles and A-list British actors playing the servants. Richard E. Grant is in this and he is literally just a footman. Like, He has maybe 3 lines of dialogue. Richard E. Grant. But he's in this. Everyone's in this. Helen Mirren is in this. Clive Owen is in this. Kelly MacDonald is in this. There's even Americans in this. Ryan Philippe is in this. And I have to say, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, you exist outside of teen heartthrob films? I'm really accurately dating my own age there. It is a murder mystery. Dumbledore dies. Spoilers. In a English manor house where everyone is disillusioned. Charles Dance is in this. Kristen Scott Thomas is in this. Jeremy Northam sings. I'm fine. It's a great, great film. I highly recommend tracking it down. And even if you don't like it, once you've seen it, you will understand why Obsession is forever and always Game of the Year, as far as I'm concerned. And Dame Maggie Smith is in it, because of course Dame Maggie Smith is in it. So what do we have inside the box? So many wonderful things. What a shock. The first thing is the rulebook, which includes unique rules for 5 to 6 player games, explanations of what the new servants do, and all the other information you need, as well as a card detailing the promotional cards and their special rules, just in case it's not clear from the text on the card itself, which sometimes happens. Family cards, guest cards, and player guides, as you would expect. But amongst the 16 promotional guests also included, we have the canonical First Lady of Colour in the Obsession universe, which I highly endorse. I don't want to get all political here, but basically, we frequently erase the fact that there were plenty of people of colour walking around England, like, right back to Hadrian's freaking Wall. So having a game like Obsession just be wall-to-wall white people, especially when you've also got Americans hopping the frickin' Atlantic, nearly said Pacific, that's betraying my geographic origins, just didn't feel entirely right to me. So I like this. She is Sarah Forbes Bonetta, a former West African princess rescued from slavery and befriended by the court of the Queen. Told you to keep an eye on those victory point tiles, didn't I? Here they are. They're bigger now. The same size as the objective cards, which is very pleasing and just a little easier to keep track of once markers and coins and servants are flying all over the table. Because Dan Halligan is an awesome person and unlike Apple doesn't expect you to buy entirely new sets of peripherals every time he upgrades his product, he has included in Upstairs Downstairs this little board which has the Builder's Market Reserves, which is a change from 2nd edition, but it means if you've got 1st edition, you just slap this on your side of the Derbyshire board and you're good to go. Brilliant. There are of course tiles. One has immediately popped off and is currently balanced on my arm, so I can only do this in one take. There are sets of the basics for the 6th family. There are new monuments. There are these interesting ones. The Babbling Brook is over there. It actually changes colour when you use it. So it's not just about using it to get increased victory points. You may want it to be a sports ground for the season that the Fairchilds are really into sports, and then flip it back to an Essentials, I think. In any case, tiles, love them. All the components are just so nice to touch, and that's a really important thing to me in games, and that tile slipping, so, oh god, I need to catch it. Ah! Tiny little purple bag. And finally, the fun new servants. So we have 4 new servant meeples. Confession time, I am a complete sucker for custom meeples. Any kind of game. I'm a wizard, my meeple has a little wizard hat, I am in. I'm a seamstress, my meeple has knitting needles. There was a Pratchett joke to be made there and I didn't make it. I'm sorry for that. I'm in. I'm an old school accountant and my meeple has an abacus. I'm in. These are some of the best. I just love them. The original game already came with great meeples. These are just a whole step up. I love them. Let's go through them one by one, just in case you're not across what they do. The head housemaid in pink. She allows you to screen for guests if you add her to an event, which allows you to take new guests, or she can stand in for the housekeeper, but not screen guests if she's doing that, because, you know, she's only one woman. The hall boy in baby blue. can stand in for the butler on any butler task, can stand in for a footman on the carriage house task, and if a monetary favour is being awarded by an event or a guest, if you add him additional to the other staff that are required, you increase that favour by £100. Let's not ask why. The cook in orange. Look at her. She's got a little wooden spoon. Little wooden spoon. There is a renovated kitchen, which she is required staff for. Whether she is used on that or additionally on any other event that doesn't require her, she increases the family's reputation. Alternatively, she can be used on any event other than the renovated kitchen to allow prestige rank 1 or 2 higher guests to attend who wouldn't normally be able to. Kind of, if you think of it in a roleplay way, normally I wouldn't be seen dead at Lady Ponsonby's morning tea, but don't you know she's just hired a French cook? And finally, in brown, the useful man. So useful, I'm just going to read from the rulebook for the things he does, because I need to remember. Placed on the private study, he increases your income from village fairs. Place him on the builder's market to decrease the cost of the tile by 100. Place on any improvement tile, temporarily decreasing its prestige rating by 1, or he has 2 one-time uses: remove from the game to refresh the builder's market, or remove from the game to search the tile bag for a specific tile, not including monuments, and place it in the £800 space in the builder's market. He's going to be very strategic to play, and that's probably why I'm never going to recruit one. So that is my probably not very quick at all tour through Obsession 2nd Edition and the Upstairs Downstairs expansion. And it's probably just about time for me to babble a little about why I love this game so much. But before I do that, I'm putting it down because my shoulder is already hurting. And I haven't even packed the expansions into this yet. So chonk. So, why do I like Obsession? Obviously, the theme was a really powerful attractor to me. I love any game where I can be really silly, but also feel really challenged. And I should note that I play Obsession, and everyone I play Obsession with plays Obsession, as a bit of a role-playing experience. If you're not lamenting every time you draw a cad, or feeling somewhat scandalised that 2 young gentlemen and 3 of the footmen have been down in the gazebo all afternoon, or feeling slightly worried that your son might be about to take up with an American heiress, to me, you're not really enjoying the spirit of the game. The balancing of the needs of the gentry with the people actually doing the work to support their lifestyle, as represented by meeples, is one of my favourite expressions of the worker placement game. The components and the design and art style are just delightful, and the icons and player guides make everything pretty easy, while there's also a huge amount of additional information if you really want to dig deeper into it. Now, even to this day, sharing a house with this collection of games, I'm still not entirely comfortable anytime I'm learning a game that has more than like 3 or 4 different ways to score victory points. And Obsession has 7 based on the little score sheets you get. But they all feel really earned. Did you manage to hook one of the Fairchilds? Did you build the biggest house? Do you have the most money? Do you have the most servants? And there are the objective cards, which in 2nd edition, because you start with 5 and you winnow them down, you can be really strategic about how you're pursuing those points. So it all works for me, in a way that, oh, but by the way, were you collecting these matching artifact sets that we never actually mentioned and don't thematically tie into anything? I'm not a fan. Finally, in classic 3-minute board game style, some recommendations of other games you might like to try if Obsession doesn't seem like quite your cup of tea. And I'll try not to be offended by that. Obviously, thematically, I have to recommend Marrying Mr. Darcy as a much simpler, mechanically game, but with all the same scope for hilarity and role-playing and cutthroat female socialization in the Regency era. Love it. It also reminds me every time I play of the old TV ad for the Sweet Valley High board game, which just included the line, "Jessica, you stole my boyfriend." Why do I remember that? Why is that using space in my brain? Another, if you want that kind of dynastic building experience, is Legacy: The Testament of Duke de Crécy. Now, mechanically, if the theme doesn't grab you, even after you've done your homework and watched Gosford Park a couple of times, it's really hard to pick one. I just did a little brainstorm off screen with Jay, and we couldn't really think of anything that has the same level of the tableau building, which is really reminiscent of Castles of Mad King Ludwig, the really specialized meeple placement, but also the card management and, in a way, the resource management of your events and your deck of guests and your servants. So, you're just stuck playing Obsession. Can't say I'm mad at that conclusion. Alright team, that's about all from me. I hope you enjoyed this slightly rambly, long video. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of this face on the channel. I'm hoping to have a proper 3-minute review out before the TEFI 25, which may be before or after Jay's top 100. We'll just have to see how the timing goes. And before I go, just allow me to be a bit of a board game mum and give you a bit of a public service announcement. I'm recording this before the New Zealand general election. That's next Saturday for us. This video will be out after that, guaranteed. Advanced voting is taking place now, and over 1 million people have already voted, and that's pretty cool. This video will probably be out before other people's big national elections. So I just want to say, wherever you are in the world, if you live in a democracy and you have the opportunity to participate in that democracy, do it. Register to vote. Get out to vote. Get young people you know out to vote, because building that habit early for young people is so crucial to making sure they continue it throughout their lives. That's just all I wanted to say at what is quite a pivotal time for New Zealand democracy and democracy around the world. This has been Obsession 2nd edition and the upstairs downstairs. Until next time, I am Stephanie, and this has been a longer than 3-minute board games video. And I'll catch you all next time. Ka kite anō. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, and support us on Patreon.